This is a pretty cool piece of camping gear. It's actually a clone of a very popular piece of camping gear, and in case you haven't figured it out yet, it is a portable camping stove. It's a knockoff of the Optimus 8R, which was made in Sweden a long time ago. They started making these stoves in 1935, and the patent I found goes all the way back to 1931. Now, by the research I've done, it looks like somewhere in the 70s, Russia started to copy the Optimus AR, and they called it the touristy stove. It's very similar to the Optimus. It's not part for part interchangeable, but it's gosh darn close. What I like about this little stove is it is very compact. As you can see, it's a very small case. You could camp with this, and it really would not be a burden in your backpack. It weighs a little over 1.5 pounds empty. You pull this little door down and it pulls the tank kind of outside the shell and it centers the burner. Now there's also a funny little plate down here on the bottom that can hold some of that white gas, because to start this, you have to prime it. Now a while back I did a video on how to start the Coleman white gas stoves. I'll put a link up there if you haven't seen it. But if you remember, the tanks have a little plunger on them, and you pull that plunger in and out and you put a little bit of pressure in the tank. And that's what feeds the fuel through the generator that vaporizes the fuel and sends it to the burner. These don't work that way, but they kind of do. There's no pump on the tank. You can buy a small pump for this tank, but you really don't need it. Basically, this little bowl down here, you put some white gas in and you light it on fire. And the heat from that white gas will help pressurize the tank a little bit. There's also a wick that goes from the tank down these tubes that helps feed the jet that's in the bottom of the burner as well. It just helps assist the fuel in getting there until you can get everything primed and started. The gas valve is operated by this little stem. Some of these look more like a key, but the Russian knockoffs looked just like this. You slip the key on there, and now you can open and close the valve. If you open the valve all the way, there's a little needle that helps clean out the jet. So you don't need a tool to clean out the jet. Some of these had a tool along the side, or there was a tool across the back that helped you clean out that jet, but later models, they built it into the valve itself. This one has a wrench so that you can open up the valve and clean it and maintenance it. So let's go ahead and fire this stove up and see how it operates. Now I keep this little tube in here so that I can put it down into the tank, put my thumb on the end of it, and pull a little bit of fluid out, so I can reach down inside this little dish here and put some fluid into it. I've already got some in there. The next thing to do is put your cap back on and tighten it up. And it does need to be tight because the heat from here is going to put a little bit of pressurization inside this tank. Let's go ahead and light it. And the fuel is lit. And you're gonna need to let that burn about a minute or so. And if you listen, you can hear it starting to kind of boil some of the fuel that's inside. It's starting to vaporize it. Now would be a good time to turn on the valve to get it started. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but you might be able to hear it. It is already lit, and I like to let it warm up a little bit before I open the valve a little bit more. And you can hear it, it sounds like a jet engine. Now there's also a little heat shield here, and that heat shield folds out of the way. But if you have a large pan on it, you might want to pull that heat shield up a little bit to keep some of the heat off of this little tank here. Now these are popular enough, there are a few accessories or other people making things for them. You can buy cases, and you can buy the little pump that goes on the front if you want to pressurize it. There's also a little diffuser. Some of them come with the diffuser. It just snaps right in here. It gives you a place to sit things. The cups and things sit a little better on it instead of sitting on these two bars, and it also helps diffuse some of that heat a little bit better. And the best part is all the little parts and pieces and gadgets fit inside one complete little closed case, just like this. Anyhow, I thought you might like to see this little stove, so please like and subscribe, take a look at some of my other videos, and at the very least, you might be entertained.